to my kitchen. Today I am making a delicious cake called Sfouf. It is unique in that it's flavored with turmeric, and turmeric gives it that beautiful sunny yellow color. If you're looking for an easy cake that's high on flavor with ingredients that you probably have in your kitchen, this is the one. And I start off this cake by preparing my pan. Now I'm using a 9-inch springform pan, and that's the ones that actually open up and have a false bottom now. So the reason for that, I mean, you could use any pan, but this is sort of an insurance so that when I flip the cake that I'm not going to have anything stick. I start with buttering my pan, but it's not butter, I'm actually using tahini. Now tahini is basically a sesame butter. Okay, and it is made by ground sesame seeds. And all I'm going to do is coat my pan bottom and sides thoroughly. Okay, now not only does this help not stick, but also it's going to give it a really nice nutty flavor in the end after it's baked. It's also creating glue for me to be able to put in the sesame seeds that I'm going to add to the sides of the pan. Okay, and that's the next step. So here I have some lightly toasted sesame seeds, and I'm just going to grab with my finger and just a little bit. You see the tahini now is helping the sesame seeds get stuck on the sides, and I'm just doing it on the sides, and you'll see why in a minute. And then to give me a little bit more insurance, I use parchment paper that I've cut into a round that's going to fit the exact bottom of the pan. So I just lay that, and of course the tahini now that's at the bottom helps stick. So my pan is ready. So we're going to start with the first layer of my Sfouf. Now I'm going to be using oranges. Oranges, or blood oranges actually, are in season right now in Canada, so I'm going to use them, and I love their color. Now if you don't have blood oranges, of course just a regular navel orange, just as good. So I start with a very, very sharp knife, and I'm going to first cut the end, okay, that I don't need. And then very carefully, and this is why a sharp knife is very important, you're going to slice through and make as thin a slice as possible, okay? And continue on till you have a whole bunch of slices. And you see how beautiful the blood orange is. This is why I like it, because you've got different grades of yellow and orange and red, and it has a unique taste as well. Okay, so as thin as possible, and if there's any seeds, get rid of them. So all my orange slices are ready, nice and thin. So I start by laying them in my pan right on top of the parchment paper. So I'm going to start overlapping them, okay, right from the edge out. And take your time, because this is going to be flipped. So the prettier you make it, the more lovely it is when you flip it upside down. So take your time and get it really nice. And then just continue laying pieces, and you're sort of putting half of it exposed and the other half not. And then you start your second layer and continue on till it's fully covered. Now with these beautiful oranges, as you can see, you've got all the different colors. It's almost like an ombre, where you're getting something yellow, something orange, something a little bit more red. It's just beautiful. I love these. I wait for these every season when they come out for this reason, for making special desserts like this one. So there you go. Isn't that beautiful? That just by itself, it's gorgeous. And I got so enchanted by the beautiful color of the oranges that I forgot to add in the simple syrup. So I would normally do it under, so I would pour the simple syrup first and then put the oranges on top. But I'm going to just drench the orange slices with the simple syrup, and basically it's just going to give a nice added sweetness that's going to permeate through the orange. So really, that's all. Now it is unique in that it's not going to be the traditional way of beating, you know, eggs and butter with sugar. It's called the reverse method, the reverse creaming method, and it's going to start with flour. And this is actually cake and pastry flour that I like because it's less gluten and it gives a nice light cake. And then I add to it very fine semolina. Okay. Now my flavorings are Mahlab, which is, we've used this before. It's that kernel of the pit of a specific cherry, gives a really nice flavor. And then the two unique flavors that make Sfouf are Yansun, which is anise, and that gives it that beautiful licoricey taste. It's really, really yummy, and it's classic flavor in a lot of our sweets in the Arab world. And then, of course, what makes this Sfouf, without it, it cannot be, and it is the yellow color, and that comes by way of putting in turmeric. You're shocked. Turmeric in cake? Since when? Well, you will see. It gives it a beautiful flavor, and it imparts this sunny yellow color that makes Sfouf what it is. Now, I start first with my whisk, and I just want to break everything together just to combine it really, really well. Okay. And then once that is combined, oh, I just smelled the anise. It's delightful. It's beautiful. So I'm going to start by putting in two different kinds of fat. The first one is actually clarified butter, and this is the one that I make. And if you want to know how to make clarified butter, I have a video on my channel that you can follow the step-by-step. Very easy. So the clarified butter goes in, and clarified butter is just basically butter that's been simmered to get rid of all the milk solids. Okay, so it is really pure fat. That's what it is. Okay, the purest of the butter. And it gives a beautiful flavor to the cake. And also, this is extra virgin olive oil. So this is kind of an olive oil cake. Now, you could make this cake not using clarified butter at all and just skip it and just use the olive oil, because it'll work as well. I remember my mother used to do that too sometimes. Or do what I've done and give it the flavor of the butter and mix both. And I'm actually going to get my fingers inside, and basically what I'm going to do, just like I would do pastry, I'm going to mix the flour and the fat all together. And what I'm doing right now is actually coating dry ingredients with the fat. And what that does, this technique, and we call it in Arabic bes. It's the act of bes. And what it does is it coats the flour and eliminates the gluten to come out full force and allows for a really nice tender crumb of a cake in the end. All right, so as soon as that is done and incorporated, and you're going to get the texture of almost like a crumbly wet sand, and you can already see the yellow from the turmeric. Okay, so here I start with yogurt, and this is just plain yogurt that has no flavor. The sugar to give it that beautiful sweetness. And here I have the flavor of orange blossom. So it's orange blossom water. So that gets added in. And then I'm also going to put in some salt. The other flavor that I want to punctuate, because remember all those gorgeous oranges, I also add in orange zest. So the orange is actually going to be inside the cake as well. Now, with my whisk, I'm just going to mix these together just to incorporate. And I mean, there's nothing easier. This cake was always my go-to when I had friends popping in, at the last minute, like, what do I do? What do I do? And this was something that I always would go to, and it's something that you can see you can make very easily and very quickly. And now that my liquid mixture is ready, I'm just going to add it in. I'm pouring it all on top of my flour and butter mixture, flour, butter, and oil. Okay. Now, if you don't have orange blossom water, and sometimes I run out of it too, I would use vanilla. Is a nice substitute. I'm going to add the leavening. Now here I have some baking powder. And I'm going to add that now. And of course, this leavening is going to react with the acid of the yogurt, and that's actually what's going to make this fluff. You notice there's no eggs in here, and there wasn't any excessive beating. So we're relying on this chemical reaction to raise our cake. Just to bring it all together, and it doesn't take very long. Look at that beautiful yellow color. Look at that. Okay, now I'm just going to taste. It tastes fabulous raw, so you can imagine what it's going to taste like baked. So I start by pouring in, and do it very carefully because you don't want to move the oranges around. You want them to stay in their place. Okay, just gently. Look at that sunny yellow. Now it's beautiful yellow now, and once it's in the oven and baked, it's going to get even more intense. Smooth things out evenly so that batter is the same on all sides. Now I've baked it in a 9-inch pan. You could certainly bake this in a 10-inch and it won't be as thick. It'll be a little thinner, but it'll work just as well. And if you don't have a round pan, you can have a square pan or a rectangular pan. It doesn't matter. Here I have some lightly toasted almonds, which is what I have. Or if you have pine nuts, I just didn't have any today. That would probably be a little bit more traditional. You can sprinkle on the pine nuts. And I just put them all over the Sfouf. And what is going to happen is when it bakes, they will toast up more. And then when I flip this cake upside down, there's going to be that element of crunch at the bottom in addition to that lovely citrus. Now I have an oven that has been preheated at 350 degrees, which is about 190 Celsius. And I'm going to put it in the oven to bake. Test it with a skewer, a toothpick, or a thin knife, and make sure that when you put it in and pull it out in the center that there's no dough left, okay? And that's it. So off to the oven. The smell in here is to die for. Cake is done, and the reason why I can hold it, it's still relatively warm, but I actually took it out of the oven and let it sit for about 10 minutes till it was not as hot. So now I'm going to, just with a spatula, just to ensure, I mean, I'm confident that it didn't stick, but just to make sure, you know, that there's no pieces that are attached to the side. So the spatula just runs it through. I'm going to take my cake rack, all right, and just place it on top. And then very carefully and with confidence, I'm going to flip it. Okay, and this is when you open your springform pan. This is the beauty of a springform pan. And I will remove the base. Ooh, it's exciting. And remember that parchment paper that we put on here. This is insurance that it's going to be, let's do it here. Here it is. This is the reveal. Look at that. It's so pretty. Look at that. So there it is. Now it's still hot. So I would wait till it just cools a little bit more. Well, here it is. I've put it on a cake plate, my Sfouf, and this is totally optional, but this is the same simple syrup that I put on the bottom. This is just a little extra. If you want to drizzle on at the very end, it adds a really beautiful shine and a little bit of sweetness, but again, that's up to you. It's sweet enough without it, but I add in just a little bit more. And do you notice all the sesame seeds here around the border that we put in? That's going to add another level of flavor. Now, Sfouf is traditionally not made with orange, like what I added. As I told you, this is my interpretation of Sfouf. And the reason why I like to add the orange is because I find it adds to the moistness of the cake, and also the citrus and the orange marries so beautifully with that flavor of anise, that licorice. So it really goes well together, and of course the turmeric, okay, that goes without saying. Now here it is. This is the reveal. This is the money shot, as they say. There you go. Look at that. I say that's pretty. Nice and yellow And there's that nice slice with all the oranges on top. This is delicious on its own, you don't need it, but what I've done here is I've mixed some plain yogurt with a little bit of honey and a touch of vanilla and some orange zest. And I like serving it with a dollop of this, and you can put it just here right on top or on the side, whatever you like. It's nice and moist, and all the flavors that are in there are so complementary. That beautiful yellow sunny color means this is Sfouf. This is what makes it Sfouf. And it's one of those cakes that is just nice in the morning with a cup of coffee, with a cup of tea. When somebody pops in at the last minute, as I told you, it's easy to make. I hope you give it a try. And tell me what you think. And if you make Sfouf a different way, share with me your tricks. And I'm always listening and I'm eager to learn. So until next time, I'm going to finish my cake and we'll see you again. Saha wa hana. Bye.